Good morning. Welcome to Beyond the Blueprint. I'm Jason Smith. We have a very special guest today, but before we get to Marikay, just want to remind you on this podcast, we travel around the Triad. We talk to industry professionals and community leaders about all things new homes. And if you haven't watched before, we're glad you're here. If you're watching for the first time, we're also glad you're here. Go to the triadnewhomesguide.com if you want to see past episodes or any of your podcast platforms. We're on most of them. All right. This morning we're with Marikay Abuzuaiter, and she is running for mayor for City of Greensboro. And I'm just going to do a little bit of introduction here for you. I'm going to put my glasses on. Marikay has been an integral part of the Greensboro community her entire adult life. She was elected as an at-large city council member in 2011 and has been hyper-focused on listening to and responding to the concerns of her constituents. Marikay knows and supports businesses and always advocates for small businesses. She was a business owner, and for 22 years she was a business owner and she ran Mahi's Seafood Restaurant, which I ate there, gosh, a lot. Yes, ma'am, and it was great. I was just telling her how much we miss Mahi's. Let's see here. She also, she serves as chair of the Piedmont Authority for Regional Transportation. She's also the chair of the Municipal Planning Organization, MPO, serves as vice chair of the Piedmont Triad Regional Council. She's married to Issa and has 2 children, Joey and Michael. And like I said before, she's running for mayor of Greensboro. All right, we're going to jump into some questions today, and thank you for being with us, by the way. We had a long walk here in the heat, so if we look a little sweaty, that's why. So first thing we're going to start off is with public safety. Sure. What is your position on public safety, and what things will you do to ensure the people of Greensboro safety?
Well, of course, living here in Greensboro, I wanted a safe place for myself and my children. And then being in business for 22 years, I worked very closely with police officers. We tried to make sure the safety of the neighborhood, the businesses around me. We were a little secluded at that time, so we were kind of away from, the downtown hustle and bustle. So I worked very closely with them. And I became very interested in working more with the police department. I actually took the Citizens Police Academy. And every single year on my platforms, public safety has been my #1 on my platform. I have never wavered in my support of the police. And something I'm very proud of is when if you know, a couple of years back, 2023, Chief Thompson came to us and said, our city is in crisis. We are down 130 officers. And he said, I don't know what we can do about it, but all of the surrounding municipalities are paying so much more that we're losing officers daily. And so I never make a motion from the dais when someone speaks at the podium, but I'm sitting there thinking, here is our police chief saying we are in crisis. So from the dais, we talked about salaries for months and months and months. From the dais, I made a motion to raise our police officers up to the marketplace level where they needed to be, and it passed 7-2, and I'm very proud of that. I checked with the chief last week. We are only short 10 officers.
Wow.
So we have to make sure our city is safe and secure. We have to. Look at all of our economic development successes. We've just got to make sure we are secure.
Yeah, one of the things I know, I'm just in the crazy world we live in. I mean, you just look a couple weeks ago out in Los Angeles, and all these major cities have all this unrest, and it's related to immigration and whatever else, whatever underlying issues those are. But Greensboro is such a peaceful place, and I think it's always been that way. Obviously the goal is to always ensure that,
yes.
Correct?
Yes.
Okay.
That
Gotcha.
is the goal. And, even when we did have a little bit of unrest, I never wavered in my support for the police.
Right. Our police department's always been very good.
They have.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, let's talk about a little bit of planning and growth. What kind of infrastructure updates do you think are needed in the city of Greensboro the city of Greensboro for a positive growth pattern. And when I say that question, specifically, I'm asking about things like, planning for the Tanger Center, for future maintenance, or the Coliseum is in need of maintenance, obviously. I'm a member of the Sports Council, and I'm in and out of the place a lot. And I know there's a bond, I think, right now pending maybe to help with the Coliseum renovations and the Aquatic Center. We were just talking about Spencer Love Tennis, Stoner White Stadium, which is right here. We're at Country Park today, by the way, in Greensboro, and just right next to us we have all these beautiful facilities. What kinds of infrastructure and things are in place to help maintain, to make sure we have all the proper facilities that the residents can enjoy?
Number one on the list when businesses come or businesses look at Greensboro, of course they want to know about your roads and your water and all of those things, but they want to know what your amenities are. They want to know about your Coliseum. They want to know about your parks and trails. They want to know, what do you have that I can offer my employees to entice them to come work for my company? Of course we know about the education and the workforce development and all of the things that will be needed there, but they truly look at the quality of life and the things like the Tanger Center and the parks and the Coliseum and our sports. I'm on the Sports Foundation, so all of those, so all of those things. I believe that I have an immense amount of knowledge to help try to bring all that together. Do we need money for the Coliseum? Of course we do. Why is it in this shape? Why are we starting to lose maintaining our structures? That's been going on for decades. It's not something that happened overnight or with this council or the last council. I don't want to go into blaming people, because when things are tight, sometimes you don't get that thing fixed, or you don't upgrade this, or you don't do that until it comes to the point, wow, it really looks bad. We need to do something now. For instance, the facade on the Coliseum, it's just blah.
Yeah.
And we've got to be able to do that, because one of our main goals on City Council is to make Greensboro a sports capital, especially for youth. We have all of that going with all the soccer, but we've got to upgrade all of our facilities, and we've got to make sure that we can maintain them.
Well, you touched on a couple things that I want to kind of address, but one, I've totally forgot about the Sports Foundation.
Yeah.
What a great program, and Richard Beard is great.
Richard Beard is head of it.
And he's actually going to be on our podcast.
Wonderful.
So great guy. He knows a lot about what's going on and what's happening with sports all around here. And but when you talk about the sports, we have soccer fields and baseball fields, and I don't want to harp on it, but these big tournaments now, they bring in teams from out of town, which lends hotels, restaurants, shopping, so one of the things, Richard and I have had this conversation probably a million times, is that, we think about all these big events and things, the ACC, which is great, and the SEC and all the Big 12 or whatever, the swim stuff, and, but really the economic impact of some of these other smaller events that are youth events are real important to Greensboro.
The reason being, if your kid is playing in a tournament, you're going to be there. And if you have to travel, you'll travel. And you'll stay in a hotel. And you'll pay for meals out. And you'll find something for the kids to do on a Saturday afternoon.
Exactly.
So you'll take them to the Science Center. Or you'll take them downtown, International Civil Rights Center and Museum. Or you'll take them to the Children's Museum. You'll go to all of these places. And then if they have too much energy, you're going to hit the parks and the trails and try to wear them out. But kids get so excited. Look at the Aquatic Center. Oh my gosh, we're the best in the nation.
Yeah.
Look at the
Aquatic Center is an incredible
it's
facility.
Incredible.
Amazing.
And teams in the entire nation are looking at us. Look at the Science Center. It was just voted the #1 in the nation and has all these accreditations. So yes, we are where we want to be, but we need to make sure we can sustain, take care of, improve, and repair.
So, owning a real estate company, we do a lot of business here in Greensboro and the surrounding area. And I hear people moving here, relocating for jobs, and I talk to them, and whether they're coming from the Midwest, the West, the Northeast, wherever it may be, actually in what we call the halfbacks who go to Florida and then make it halfway back.
Halfway back.
People love Central North Carolina.
They do.
And Greensboro is a great option because it's not Raleigh and it's not Charlotte.
Right.
And if you've been there, you know what I mean. And they're great places, but if you want a little less hustle and bustle, Greensboro has all the things that they have in a major city, but still a small town feel. And I think that's really what makes Greensboro great.
It does, and if you think about all the transportation things we've done to help make that feasible, I'm very proud of the fact that I'm chair of the MPO transportation, and if we had not approved the federal and state funds for the last leg of the loop, wouldn't have gotten done.
Yeah.
So, all of those things, and with transportation tied in there, you've got to think of all the logistics and all the companies coming and all of the things that the employees and the CEOs are going to need. And I know you probably run through it with trying to find housing.
Yeah, well, that leads us into my housing questions, because really that's what we're here to talk about for the most part. And what specifically do you think Greensboro's going to do? Sorry, these bugs. Whew. What do you think specifically? I know. What do you specifically think, or think you can do to help Greensboro with the housing crisis that we're in? And how can you help builders, developers, whether it's permitting, platting, going through rezoning? What kind of things do you think you can do to help with that process? Because it is more important now than ever, because getting from startup, buying the land, to getting the land on the ground is, it's taken longer than what I think most people feel like it probably should, but that's anywhere, okay?
Right,
it's
right,
not Greensboro
right.
only, but what can we do to help that and make that a better process? Because we need homes, and we need variety of homes, and we need them quickly for the growth. I mean, the Jet Zero announcement last week, and that's just one announcement, but we have lots of other things going on as well, and so we're going to need housing. So what do you think we can do?
And two, on that point, just think of all the ancillary businesses that are going to come.
Right, yeah.
Because all of the businesses that will supply those corporations, they're going to want to come as too. That's where I put in my plug for small businesses.
Of course.
So, it's going to be interesting, but I do want to say this. When chosen to lead this city, I think we're going to see a lot of changes, because I will be able to pull a team together at that point. I do want to say, so many times we hear, this council hasn't done anything, this council isn't doing that, this council isn't doing that. Criticism is part of the job. However, we wouldn't be at the economic successes that we have right now if we hadn't been working for these last 10, 12 years. And on that point with housing, we are already trying to change the world on that. We just approved the ADU, the accessory dwelling units. We're trying to get permitting to change. We now have a 48 turnaround time for permitting. We have where the developer, the builder can go online. We just revamped the whole thing. So it's very user friendly. They can go in and see and schedule their inspector. There's so many things that we are doing now to help make that process. Did we start this just because of Jet Zero announcing jobs or Toyota announcing? No, we've been working on this for years. And we want to make the permitting process, for instance, you take townhomes, there's so many rules and regulations now. The state ones we can't change. We've got to be clear on that. But I know that we work a lot with Trebic to see what can the city change. I know we're trying to change some of the rules on townhomes, on the outer structure. Is it going to have the firewall? Some things to make it a little better for the builder or the developer. We're changing as much as we can curb and gutter, because we understand that is a big burden on those who are trying to make these developments. So we're doing some small changes that the city can help with, federal can help with, state can help with. We're trying to find all these different ways that we can change at least some of the city ordinances to make it easier for those who need the permits, who want to build, who are ready and able to go. Land is an issue sometimes. We do need to do more infill, but we need to be strategic about that infill. And we do have to still respect neighborhoods, but sometimes, the neighborhoods, for instance, I'll talk about my own neighborhood. We've got the Brassville Park used to be, I don't know what it's called now, apartments right down at the end, and my whole neighborhood was opposed to that. Oh my gosh. And I'm like, okay. You hear the same things. Traffic, it's going to hurt traffic. It's going to hurt. I won't be able to get out of my subdivision. I won't be able to walk down the street.
Heard all this a lot of times.
That was in 1993, and it didn't change anything, and it raised the values on our homes. Now we just came up where they wanted to extend it on down into the rest of their property. Oh my gosh, I was getting it from all sides. But we voted to do it, and I said, listen, I can walk out my front door, and I can see the third floor of those townhomes, apartments right there. It doesn't bother me a bit. As long as everybody maintains aesthetically appealing, all the things that any neighborhood wants.
Of course.
So that's...
Well, so what's your stance on the water and sewer? Because in my world with working with developers on a regular basis, we're always trying to figure out what in the world are we going to do to try to find land with water and sewer. And I know if I'm not correct, please correct me, but I think Greensboro worked on a sewer line all the way to the Toyota plant.
Yes.
And which is great, but it eats into the capacity, if I'm correct. So how are we going to get and work towards additional capacity for water and sewer?
Okay, so we have engineers and we have statisticians and we have all of the experts, the professionals in the field. I know you probably knew Steve Drew, who was with the Water Resources. Now we have Mike Borchers, who is with it. That is always our first question. How much is this going to affect? Because I know you and we were here during the drought in the 90s. We couldn't even serve water in the restaurant. They had to ask for a glass of water.
Wanting sprinkle irrigation.
We were not allowed to wash cars. We could not sprinkle our lawns. We couldn't let the kids play with the hose, nothing. I mean, you would get a fine for that because it was a desperate time. But then along came Randleman Dam. Then along came, we always buy some water from Burlington and some of the surrounding municipalities. So therefore, we always have a good stream of water, and the conservation efforts that our citizens went through, you can still see it. You know, we don't waste water like we used to all the time. We will have plenty of water for new development. It's just getting the water and sewer there. And I do trust our current water department resources directors, and I do believe that their heart is only for the best things in Greensboro. And yes, we have plenty of water, and we have plenty of capability.
And there will be expansion.
And there will be expansion, but you realize a lot of that is due to the Randleman Dam, which I commend everybody, all of the leaders coming together to work on that, because that was our godsend that, you know, we are going to have water for eons.
Well, let's talk about the around the airport. I mean, so I grew up in the Cardinal, which is literally, you can see people waving at airplanes
from the airplanes.
So, but it was, some people don't like it. We loved it. Okay, it didn't bother us.
I love watching the airplanes.
And when you live around there, after a while, you don't really even notice it.
Right.
But the world has changed. That airport is a phenomenal little world of its own. We have a great little airport, and it's not little. I say little, but in comparison to a lot of things, but it's a nice airport. You get in, you get out, you get flights you need. It's a great place. I love flying out of Greensboro. Love flying out of Greensboro, but now we have all this aeronautical industry coming our way. You know, Honda Jet, now this Jet Zero announcement, which I want to talk a little bit more about that boom, and Hayco's already there, and just many, many more. But with this Jet Zero announcement, you know, anytime you have an announcement, there's lots of buzz around it, and the job number count is enormous, which I think surprised even a lot of people. You know, a few thousand jobs here, but this is a lot of jobs. And so, what's the time frame? I mean, in the real estate world, you know, we all like instant gratification, but you know, we know, just same with FedEx and all these other things, they take time.
It's going to take time.
What is what kind of, I mean, what kind of time frame do you think they're are going to be on? And I know there's been different articles that say different things, but you know, I mean, is this a 10-year plan, or what is your
Yes,
take on
so
that?
I specifically asked because I'm like, well, 14,500 jobs, we're certainly not going to have those
gonna be
ready
tough.
tomorrow.
Exactly.
No, this is spanned out over a 10-year period.
Okay.
They're saying 9 years, but they envision 9 years and then they will have had fulfilled. Because a lot of the incentives the state, county, everyone has given, they are not given to them like in a check. It's like taxes taken off, or infrastructure. The city's done some infrastructure. So it's going to take time because we need time to come up with the workforce. We've already worked with Guilford Tech and all of those. So we've got time to plan, but we don't need to sit and just wait. We need to go ahead and start with the housing and start with the training of the workforce and start with the infrastructure. I know we all see a lot of the roads are torn up and all that, but I'm thankful to say that's because they've needed it for the last 25 years.
Yeah.
And you look at Market Street and Guilford College Road, our MPO approved that. You look at the bridge out at the airport where the planes are going to go over Bryan Boulevard. That was us.
Yeah.
That was the MPO
Pretty
TAC.
cool.
Yes, we are the ones who approved that because it took some talking to my colleagues on the MPO. We get all the information, and this would be great. But how are we going to implement this? So we have a staff member who goes out and looks for the federal grants. We have a staff member who goes out and looks for the state grants. So we find all of these highway type grants, whether it's from the feds or the state, and we go, okay, we think we can get the funds. You don't hit the send application yet. Can we envision it, and what will it bring? So we all realized that once those large airplanes can go over, you've opened up, 900 acres or
Yeah,
so?
it's a
I don't want to be
lot.
quoted on the exact amount of
No,
acres,
it's a lot.
but it's a lot. And that's where you're going to have even more businesses come. And then you have your residential areas over to another side. You're going to have more residential. You're going to have everything.
Yeah.
And this is something that we all wanted to do. Now we've started growing east. We've got Publix, we've got Toyotas, basically southeast, and it's not that far away. And one thing I have been adamant about, which is I'm chair of the Piedmont Authority for Regional Transportation, we may be able to have the workforce, but how are they going to get there? So PART, which is Piedmont Authority for Regional Transportation, we have van pools to companies, and the employers subsidize them most of the time, if not all of the time, because their employees come to work on time, their employees go home on time, their employees do what they need to do at work, and then they go home.
Yeah, I've always had this, and I was talking to somebody the other day. Actually, it's funny. We've had 2 or 3 conversations in the last month. This topic has come up. I don't know why, but I've always had this thought of what about having places, and I think you just answered that, but having places where people that maybe live outside of Greensboro, that work, come into town, maybe they go to a certain location and maybe they catch a train or some kind of transit into the city, or maybe it's bus transportation or whatever that looks like. But you go to Charlotte and Raleigh, mainly Charlotte, but they have the transit system. But I don't know that we're there yet, but I do see that in the future. I think.
I say we're very close if we're
Yes.
not doing some of it already. We are implementing with PART. It's called travel demand. It's basically Uber or Lyft, but you only pay $2. And that is considered public transportation. It's subsidized. And then you can go and be taken from the airport to the train, and you are ready to go on the train. And also we have park and ride lots. So if you want to get on a park bus to go someplace, they've got park bus for those needing something for the kids to do. They've got park buses going to the zoo in Asheboro. And it's just amazing what we can do and what we're planning. Now, getting the word out to the public is a different story. I know you, as well as I, and as well as the city sometimes, we have issues, concerns, and trouble talking about all of this stuff and getting it to the public. We know what we're talking about, but getting it to the public so they are aware is the issue. Where do we go? Well, everybody can open their phone and go now. So that's what we're all trying to do.
Right. Okay, my last question, it's kind of on the subject, but is parks and greenways. So one of the great things about Greensboro, no matter what side of town you're on, we have great parks. And every park is unique, and to be able to go to these different parks and we're at Country Park today, by the way, in Greensboro, and I've walked laps around this thing a million times in my lifetime, and it's still as nice as it was
Got the paddle
30,
boats up
40
there.
years ago.
Yep.
The paddle boats are out, the snow cone, booths open behind us, and but anyway.
The ducks are coming to visit.
Oh,
Hey
come
there.
on.
Come on.
But it just brings me to a question of with the parks and the greenways, and when we have the trail now, I don't know where it starts. I think it goes all the way out to Summerfield, if I'm not mistaken, all the way to downtown Greensboro. Is that correct? And
It
then-
will be, yes,
Okay.
yes. So the A&Y Greenway, that's the one with the little bridge that they had to condemn, and then further on there's another little bridge all the way to Summerfield. I have actually ridden it on an ATV within the last year.
Wow.
So that could be a whole nother story. I have my certification, so it's good. But the A&Y Greenway, the one that we're focusing on now, it is in sore need of repair. It's just been, since it was built, it has had no maintenance as such because there haven't been any funds for it. So here we go. We were just able, through the MPO, TAC, through our committee, our staff person, we've been able to get a $2 million federal grant. Now, the city's going to have to put in $500,000, but this is going to completely get it up to speed, get it up to standards. It'll be ADA accessible, all of those things, and then we'll be hooked in. Parts of it are now, but you have to cross certain streets, and to me it's not real safe, but all the way to downtown. We're trying to get that so people can, start downtown and go all the way to Summerfield and then come all the way back, or they can go on one of the trails, or they can go on anything else. So, I'm very excited with what we're doing in that realm because I was just thrilled when I heard about the grant.
Yeah. So I've just the funny stories. That thing runs on the backside of some businesses on Battleground Avenue.
That's where I was talking about.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I've been in. I frequent. I love Stamey's. Obviously, I love a lot of all the
We all
the
do.
tourist attractions. Stamey's certainly one of them. But you'll sometimes go into Stamey's on Battleground. You'll see people rolling up, parking their bikes, coming in. They may be on a ride. Or there's an ice cream place. Down the street. I just think it's kind of cool, and it's just a unique thing. A lot of people don't know about it.
That's the whole thing, because it also opens up economic development. Because there are bike enthusiasts, there are running enthusiasts,
And it's
everyone.
much safer.
And kids love them. So all of those things.
Yeah.
I think Greensboro is just amazing.
It's a great place. Well, look, tell everybody where they can find information about you, or any last words you want to share with the people. Where can they find information about your campaign?
People can go to marikayformayor.com, marikayformayor.com, or they can come to my Gmail, which is marikayformayor@gmail.com, or they can call me, and this is my personal cell that I use, and I have used it forever, so I don't mind if anyone calls. It's 336-314-9620, and all I ask is that if I don't answer, please leave a message and I'll call you back. I'm thrilled about this journey. I truly believe if you look at it, we may have up to 5 new council members, and I would be the only one with the institutional knowledge, some of which I have shared today, that I believe can move us forward, because I think that we need someone who can transition this new council into what our community wants and needs.
Well, thank you so much for
Thank
being with
you.
us. Thank you for your service.
Of
and,
course.
I've known her a long time, sweet lady. If you want to find more information out about our podcast, again, go to triadnewhomeguide.com. And you can find our podcast on most platforms that you watch your podcast on. Again, thank you for joining us today, and we'll catch you next time.
Bye.